Sancho. Legia with plenty of white shirts behind the ball at the moment. Achampong square to the captain, Reece James. Floats the ball over the top down the inside right, and that's a good covering header by Ruben Vinagre. Kept in play down by the corner flag by Sancho. Still 0-0 here on TalkSport 2. Lots of live football coming up, not just tonight, but over the weekend, and I'll give you a heads up about all that in a few moments. Achampong for Chelsea again, back to tossing, and now Badiashile. It's a bit sideways and backwards for Chelsea here, but George trying to inject some dynamism into the attack. He's blocked off by Radovan Pankov. The loose ball has dropped for Gusto, and now in the centre circle, Chelsea come forward again with Achampong. Good first touch out of his feet to find Dewsbury Hall, who spins the reverse ball inside to Palmer, back out wide to Sancho again. Only Nkunku really in the box for Chelsea here. Sancho dribbles to the right edge of the penalty area. Couple of step overs, just teases it back to Palmer. Palmer had to let it run across his body initially to avoid Capuadi. Steers it infield again to Achampong. Suddenly he accelerates towards the edge of the D. Square to James. Chelsea building an attack here. Slowly but surely. Must have had 10-15 passes in this move. George with a high cross to the back post. Sancho trying to get underneath it. Vinagre did enough, and it is behind for a goal kick in the end.
Yeah, I just felt that they could have carried on playing. The cross wasn't on there, and again, don't force it unless it's someone looked like they're making that run, and James Sancho never really made that run, and still I feel should have tried to keep that in, but because it was so close, he wasn't challenging the defender. He realised that he could just let it go out to play.
I mentioned the live football that we've got coming up over the weekend. Another huge game in the EFL. Tomorrow night, Burnley right in the hunt for automatic promotion against Norwich, who maybe have an outside chance of the playoffs. That's live with us on TalkSport 2, and lots more across Saturday and Sunday, including Manchester City against Crystal Palace in the Premier League, Leeds against Preston, and the Virtue Trophy final as well, all across the network. Make sure you download our free app to be across all of it. Sancho right corner of the area for Chelsea. 0-0 in Poland in the first leg. Sancho drills in a low cross, and that'll be cleared away from the edge of the 6-yard box by Augustiniak, who is sometimes playing as a third centre-half when they don't have possession, the home team.
Yeah, look, personally I don't like Jadon Sancho being on the right-hand side. I don't think he's got the pace to kind of go outside his full-back. And quite often, whether he's playing on the left or the right, he does a little bit of skill, he looks like he's going to be dangerous, then he turns out and just plays it back. At least that time, he did try and take on his full-back. He didn't go past him, but he still was able to get his cross in. Good defending in the end from Legia Warsaw, but Chelsea players have to realise that. Once he gets his head down and goes on the outside, someone get across the near post, because he's not going to be able to, unless he goes past his full-back, to think it to the far post.
Ball out by Cole Palmer, and now Legia on the break with Ruben Vinagre, infield to Elitin. Midway inside opposition territory, he's fed it forward to the central striker Morishita, who's peeled away to the left-hand side. His cross is turned away by Dewsbury Hall. Luquinhas has smuggled it backwards to Augustiniak, and he's robbed of possession by Nkunku. Sliding in is Oyedele, sliding in is Nkunku. Slightly scrappy passage of play. Legia Warsaw have got it back in the 14th minute here. Chod Ina out to the right-hand side, and the cross from Jolek is delayed. Back to Chodina again, and he tried to lay it infield to the onrushing Pankov, but the layoff wasn't a good one, and Chelsea now come forward with Palmer on the counter. Malo Gusto to the left, and Nkunku to the right. About 5 yards from the edge of the box, and Nkunku thinks about a shot, and that is a bizarre effort. He's dragged it miles wide. Huge backlift from Nkunku. Very strange motion there. And that is about as harmless an effort on goal as you're ever going to get. Still 0-0.
I've got to be honest, Joe, I have no idea what he was thinking or trying to do there. It couldn't have been a cross. It was such a bad shot. Maybe he was trying to do it with the outside of his foot. I don't quite know, but when you're in that position, you need to do better. You need to be more effective in that final third. You know, and this is what we want to see from Chelsea fans. We want to see Christopher Nkunku getting into that final third and doing something with the ball. So, I'm not quite sure on that one, I've got to be honest.
Legia Warsaw will restart play away to the right-hand side, playing from right to left in the first half. They've hoisted it downfield towards halfway. And Morishita bringing the ball under his control, midway inside his own territory. Sweeping pass to the right-hand side, and Chodina. He can run up Malo Gusto here. 0-0 on TalkSport 2. That was a slightly clumsy attempt to win a free kick from Augustiniak right in front of the referee. Yes, Badiashile stuck out a leg, but Augustiniak made no attempt whatsoever to stay on his feet, quite obviously looking for it. And in the end, Chelsea get themselves a free kick anyway. Yes, it is a noisy atmosphere here, but Chelsea have settled into the game, really. They are enjoying most of the possession. Doesn't feel too long before Chelsea will start to create more chances. Won their last 4 away matches in the Conference League. They did lose to Servette in the second leg of their qualifying playoff round, but in the competition proper, it is a 100% record for Chelsea, who have a home game against Ipswich at the weekend before the second leg at Stamford Bridge next Thursday. Forward down the middle for Chelsea to Palmer, opens up for him maybe here 25 yards out. He's under pressure from Oyedele, smuggles it wide left to the feet of Tyreek George. George taking on Scholek. They're defending very deep here, Legia Warsaw, really hanging on the edge of their own penalty area with virtually everyone back behind the ball. George again, red boots on, 1-2 with Malo Gusto. George looks up on the left corner of the box. He's played it back to Benoit Badiashile, tossed in a long way out, and now at Champong. Right to the near side, and Sancho, who's a bit slow on the ball, he's had it whipped off his toes by Vinagre, but Sancho recovers to poke it back to Tosin. I think it's fair to say, Scott Minto, 17 minutes in, that we've certainly got a sense of the pattern of play, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's what we expected. And I said about the first 10-15 minutes, make sure you don't concede. And after that initial burst in the first minute from Legia Warsaw, we're now seeing Chelsea, and we should be seeing it, sort of taking control of the situation, almost playing like the home side. Now it's okay, now can you start to create certain chances? Can you get players in pockets of space? Which, to be fair to Cole Palmer, he's trying to do. We're also seeing Malagusto going from left back to almost be a second 10, so there is that 3 at the back with Reece James in the middle, you know, really kind of overloading up front and asking questions of the Legia Warsaw defence. You mentioned about how the midfielders of Warsaw are actually having to drop in. Well, that's because of the way that the system is. So now it's, can you create some chances, and then can you get a goal as well?
And the flare's been let off at the home end away to the left-hand side, so Smokey in front of Jorgensen's goal. Chelsea come forward at the other end, and Dewsbury Hall can't find Nkunku with the ball threaded towards the edge of the box, and Nkunku ran ahead of it. And Pankov has it back for Legia, back to his goalkeeper, Kasper Tobias. All in green, had nothing to do in the game so far. Legia have had a good defensive record at home in Europe in recent times. 4 wins in their last 5 on this ground. All have come without conceding. Chelsea now with Badiashile. This is a very different test for Legia Warsaw. 0-0. Tosin forward of the centre circle. He's got Achampong square to his right. Achampong with the gloves on. It is quite chilly tonight. It's about 4 degrees. So much colder than back at home. Tosin going all the way back to Philip Jorgensen, who Enzo Maresca telegraphed would come back in tonight ahead of Robert Sanchez.
Let me tell you, no matter how many layers you put on watching a game, it's much warmer to be out there, even just a t-shirt and shorts running around. I can speak from experience on both sides.
You certainly can. Former Chelsea defender Scott Minto knows his European football as well, played at Benfica. Here is Badiashile, midway inside his own half for Chelsea, over the halfway line, quick ball out to the left-hand side, and checking back in field is Gusto. Now the tall toss in on the halfway line. They're not forcing the issue here, Chelsea. They are up against a Legia team who look quite stout and well organised behind the ball. They're not really giving anything away in terms of space for Chelsea on the attack, and Ruben Vinagre hacks the ball away from the left-back area. But they don't look any particular threat going forward, Legia.
Let's be careful, Joe, because I'm very wary of saying that. But look, I've said from the start, I've said it countless times, Chelsea should not just be winning this game, but they should be winning this competition. But it's one thing to say they should, it's another thing to actually go out and do it. First of all, is the team selection right? It's an interesting one. There's definitely options off the bench, plan B, C, D and E if need be. And then it's about attitude, and is the attitude good? And I have to say it has been very good. So yeah, now it's about, can you move them around, can you wear them down, even if you can't score, in the first half? Can you be so much on top that you almost make them believe that a draw for themselves, being at home, would be a good result? But actually, no, then go on, tire them out and score a goal, even if it's late on, and go back to the bridge, at least a goal up.
20 minutes gone. Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 0. In the Conference League, live on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. As we welcome listeners from TalkSport, whatever the move, and whether you're on holiday, at home or away this summer, Enterprise has locations all over Europe and a vehicle that's just right for you. Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 0. High ball up to Palmer in the penalty area. It's the first leg of the Conference League quarter-final. Chelsea have had most of the possession so far without really carving out a clear-cut chance. Reece James with a good ball into the box, but it's headed away by Capuadi. The home team have defended very deep. The home fans have tried to make it as intimidating a venue as they possibly can. Chelsea win it back half the pitch with Gusto, surges into the box, little back heel to the feet of Palmer, and that dangerous cross is tucked behind by Pankov. That'll be a corner to Chelsea, and here's Scott Minter.
Well, after the initial burst and the home side in the first couple of minutes, it's definitely been Chelsea taking control of this game. You know, it is interesting with Malagusto playing left back, but he's almost playing as a second 10 alongside Cole Palmer. They're having so much of the ball, Chelsea. So it's with the ball, very much three at the back, with Reece James sitting in front. You know, overloading on the forward players, trying to find pockets of space. Cole Palmer's getting on the ball without actually creating a shot on target. Chelsea haven't had that yet. That's the next thing to do.
Dewsbury Hall with the left-footed corner, headed away by Capuadi, drops to Malo Gusto on the edge of the box. He gets it all wrong. Dinked back in by Palmer again. That's a poor cross, headed away by Pavel Jolek. Approaching the midway point now of the first half on TalkSport 2. It is Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 0. And of course, coming next, once we're done, we'll be at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for Spurs against Frankfurt in the Europa League quarter-final. Live on TalkSport 2, Lyon against Manchester United on TalkSport. Tyreek George for Chelsea, back to James, and really Chelsea are camped inside opposition territory at the moment. It is all Chelsea in terms of on the ball, and you feel like the Legia game plan falls apart if they do concede. Good work by Luquinhas to win it back for them. And forward deep inside his own half of the pitch, but there's no real outlet for Legia at the moment. It's easily won back by Acheampong, who is robbed of possession in the end by Elitin, but quickly James seizes upon a loose pass to get it back again for Chelsea, and they'll just keep coming forward from left to right. Surely only a matter of time before that big chance does come. George trying to maraud forward down the left-hand side, taking on Vinagre, goes on the outside. And good work by Vinagre to shepherd it behind for a goal kick.
Yeah, good defending, you have to say. I mean, it's a positive play from Tyreek George. You know, a big conversation at the moment about, you know, is things too robotic. You know, a lot of wingers just get the ball, look to take someone on, then just pass it back. And I've got to be honest, I do think we've got two wingers who do two different things. And actually it's Jadon Sancho, who looks like he's about to do something and quite often just turns back, whereas Tyreek George, you know, they've swapped over. I prefer him on the right and Jadon Sancho on the left, because Sancho hasn't quite got that pace, but George trying to be direct. And while it was good defending, as a fullback, he realised that, okay, I'm up against a player here who's going to be wanting to be as direct as possible, and that's not a nice feeling, Joe. Not if you're
Have you been on the end of that before, Scott?
Once or twice, mate. Once or twice.
In the 25th minute, and it is 0-0 here. The only threat, really, actually at either end, was that very early header from the corner from Augustiniak that hit Acheampong on the chest. And then the rebound from Luquinhas went well over the top. Here is Dewsbury Hall for Chelsea, looking to break in between the lines, and he's set up Palmer in a tight area in the box. Palmer wriggles away from two and wide, plays it back to George, left corner of the area, now to James, 25 yards from goal, and suddenly that's allowed Legia Warsaw to get all 11 back behind the ball again. Chelsea not quite quick enough on the uptake there, just as it looked as though there might be some space for Tyreek George. He went backwards instead, and suddenly there is a wall of black and white, the colours of the kit of Legia Warsaw, between Chelsea and the goal. Luquinhas on the break for them, and a good ball by Oyedele over the halfway line, and racing down the left-hand side is Morishita with a right-footed curling shot. That's pretty poor. It's gone behind for a goal kick.
Well, that's what the home side are looking for, to play like the away side on the counter, because it's Chelsea who's having all the possession, practically 70% of it. But if they are able to get on the counter, that's something that Chelsea really need to be careful about. And Morishita just came inside on the left-hand side and was just trying to whip it towards the far post, and in the end, fortunately, it was well wide, but Chelsea just need to be careful about that.
0-0 it remains. Only a fleeting threat really for the home team, but a threat nonetheless. They finished 7th in the league phase, did Legia, and beat the Norwegian side Molde after extra time in the second leg. A narrow 4-3 aggregate victory. And Chelsea have the ball with Reece James in the centre circle. Angled ball to the inside right, and Kieran Dewsbury Hall. It's 0-0 in the first leg here on TalkSport 2. As Sancho plays it back to Dewsbury Hall. We're in the Conference League on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, making a big move or planning a clear out with vans of all shapes and sizes. If you've got a plan, they've got a van. Chelsea now with Badiashile, square to James, midway into opposition territory, and James is going to knock it forward about 10 yards towards where Dewsbury Hall is standing. It's laid back to Achampong, and now Kieran Dewsbury Hall again out on the right. Achampong once more for Chelsea, back into the centre circle where Tosin is standing. Tosin is just inside the Legia half. I mean, the one thing that you could say maybe about Enzo Maresca's team is, as Chelsea do in a corner off Elitim, and they're moving the ball quickly enough, Scott. I know it's not easy with 11 men behind the ball, but is it pacey enough, this Chelsea attack?
No, it's probably not quite as pacey, but don't forget, they are playing away from home at the moment. We talked about how the crowd is brilliant, and the bottom line is, one, they're not 1-0 down, and two, they are controlling the tempo of the game. Can they make it a bit quicker? Yes, but I think phase 1 and perhaps phase 2 is done so far. Now can you get to the next phase? Again, we talked about there's not been a shot on target from either side, but that's the next thing for Chelsea to do. Move it a bit quicker, try and get some kind of, even if it's on the edge of the box, Cole Palmer having a shot, or maybe Christopher Nkunku getting in behind as well.
Well, the corner's going to be taken by Reece James. It'll be right-footed and out-swinging, floated high towards the back post. Badiashile climbing with a downward header, and it's gathered in the end by the goalkeeper, Kasper Tobias. Tosin, I think, got the final touch ahead of both Achampong and George inside the penalty area.
That will count as a shot on target, won't it?
I think it will, just
Joe,
about.
You definitely could have saved that.
Do you reckon? Pluck it out of the air. Badiashile was lurking as well, but Chelsea not really testing Kasper Tobias in the first half so far. With 28 minutes gone. Legia Warsaw trying to clear upfield. It's an ugly clearance by Pankov. Hit Jolek on the head and flew out of play for a throw to Chelsea on that far side there left. It goes to Malagusto, and he exchanges passes with Reece James. Toss it in the centre circle. Just to his right is Achampong. A couple of touches to find Dewsbury Hall. Dewsbury Hall with a crossfield diagonal ball towards the left, headed away by Jolek out of defence with the pink boots on. James is there to retrieve it again for Chelsea. Again, Chelsea facing the difficult task of trying to break down 11 men in front of them. They look pretty well drilled, to Legia Warsaw, but at the same time it's almost like a good old-fashioned 5-4-1, and very flat when they don't have possession, which is most of the time for Gonzalo Feo's side.
Well, I was about to say, it's attack v defence, isn't it?
It is, really.
And if the defence can somehow have the odd counter-attack, they'll be happy. Look, I don't want to be overcritical. I'm not unhappy, because Chelsea could have started much worse after the first half an hour. As I say, we could be 1-0 down, or even 2-0 down, or chances being created down the other end. Chelsea are controlling this game. The only thing is, again, if you look at the stats, they've had that one shot on target, 4 attempts to Legia Warsaw's 3, so that they're not creating enough in the final third. But that's not an easy thing to do when 11 men behind the ball and they're dropping deep. There's no space in behind. Just keep moving the ball around, tire them out, and it might be one of those where the goals come in the second half.
We've had nearly half an hour, and it is 0-0. Pankov makes an interception inside the penalty area, a big centre half for Legia, and the ball is driven downfield by Maxi Oyedele, only as far as the Chelsea defender on the halfway line. It's a toss in back to Achampong. And Chelsea come forward again with James. Good ball down the middle, aimed at Palmer, but he couldn't get there. The two England colleagues tried to combine. Achampong's got some work to do defensively, and he's beaten the on-rushing Vinagre to it. I think the last touch was off the Chelsea man. Which way's the throw going to go? We'll find out in a moment here on TalkSport 2. Remember, the Sports Bar will take your calls tonight from 10, not before, over on TalkSport. We've heard full commentary of Lyon against Manchester United in the Europa League quarter-final first leg. Tottenham against Frankfurt here on TalkSport 2. And a very important night for Ange Postecoglou and Ruben Amorim. Away on the right is Chodina for Legia, and he wins a throw in the right wing position on that far side in front of Malo Gusto. You have to credit the noise of the home supporters, even if it doesn't really appear to have hindered Chelsea at all. It's certainly the atmosphere that you'd want from a European night, and it's a great night for Legia, and their hopes of European football next season realistically rest on this. They're too far off the European places maybe, with games running out in the Polish top flight. 5th they sit at the moment. Long throw into the penalty area for them, bounces down towards Pankov and hooked away by Dewsbury Hall. Now Palmer tries to bring it down on the break for Chelsea, and he's raced towards the centre circle away from Jurgen Elitim, who's trying to track him all the way. It was Elitim with the initial error, and in fairness, that's a good recovery tackle right in front of the Legia Warsaw dugout.
Well, he got doubled up there, didn't he? Cole Palmer was looking to come back inside, but no, there was one player wasn't allowing him to do that, another player that wasn't allowing him to go on the outside, and in the end the tackle came in. Good tackle, and he got pushed over at the same time. So to be fair to them, they're defending well. They look very well organised, structured. You know, they're making it difficult for Chelsea to break them down. But I'm not unhappy with how this has gone, because Chelsea is showing they're by far and away the better side. And look, even if it does end up being 0-0, which it shouldn't tonight, still fancy us to go to the bridge and get the win.
Jadon Sancho down the right, he's meandered into the box, tried to nutmeg Vinagre, couldn't get beyond him, nor Luquinhas. Again, they double up on Jadon Sancho, and Vinagre hoists the ball upfield to the halfway line, tossing chests it down, and Chelsea can simply come forward yet again. Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 0. Here on TalkSport 2, Chelsea all in royal blue tonight, blue socks as well. That second leg will be next Thursday. Chelsea with, of course, plenty of Premier League action to come between now and the end of the season as they look to finish top 5. As Pankov nudges the ball clear in front of Malo Gusto. Jonek, has he taken the ball out of play? Looked like it. That'll be a throw to Chelsea, close by the corner flag. Gusto goes back to Reece James. One-way traffic continues here. Chelsea simply camped in the final third, just not able to break down Legia Warsaw yet. And as I say, you think the home side's game plan falls apart if they do concede. Tosin can hit them from range, and he did shoot from a long way out. That cannon's off the chest of Augustiniak, who reacts as though it was nothing. Luquinhas infield to Elitim. There's no real outlet upfield for Legia. They're giving it away to Jadon Sancho. Down by the dead ball line, he's played it back to Achampong, and now Dewsbury Hall 5 yards to the edge of the box, in swinging ball headed away, drops down to Achampong, good first touch, angle tight, cuts it back across to Cole Palmer, shot blocked, Dewsbury Hall curls it, good save by the goalkeeper, flying save by Tobias to turn away the curler from Keane, and Dewsbury Hall at first glance looked as though it might have taken a deflection on its way through as well, which perhaps makes it an even better save. Tobias turning it behind, and that's easily the best effort of the game so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cole Palmer nearly got his shot off. Good defending in the end. I just wonder if he could have done it a little bit quicker, and he might have done it earlier in the season, but it came back to Dewsbury Hall. And on his left foot, you can see him just trying to whip it and aim just outside the post for it to curl in. It's probably a bit too close to the keeper. You know, it looked good. It's one of those you'd probably be asking the photographer behind, did you get that? Can I put that on my bedroom wall? Because he certainly would have looked good diving for it, but I think it's one he should have saved. But, you know, at least Chelsea are getting a shot, and not just a shot in, but a shot on target.
Good strike from Keane, and Dewsbury Hall has been a regular in this competition and has enjoyed it as well. Clear about the role that he's got to play at Chelsea between now and the end of the season. Just trying to place it into that right-hand corner, and Tobias pushes it away two-handed. So 0-0 Jolik went down for Legia, and he's actually had to come off here, so they'll be temporarily down to 10 while they wait to get Jolik back on. 0-0 Chelsea corner taken short. Malo Gusto is about 30 yards out to drift it in right-footed, headed by Badiashile, and is it going to drift over the top? It is. Nkunku was stretching for it, and Augustiniak, I think, did just about enough there. Nkunku's touch, I think, was adjudged to have been the last one. Meanwhile, the Legia Warsaw man has gone down and has stayed down. Reece James not happy with the decision of the referee, and are Chelsea appealing for a corner? Are they appealing for a penalty?
I'm not quite sure what they're appealing for, but what I can say is Chelsea have definitely stepped it up in terms of how they're able to get opportunities in the final third, and his crosses coming in. It's a great header back in from Badiashile. Nkunku's probably feeling he's getting pulled.
He's getting dragged down by Augustiniak,
well,
isn't he?
There's two players, he's almost been sandwiched.
Pankov.
I do think it's one of those where, unless there's an absolute obvious shirt tug, then you are going to get that kind of arms around you, and he's dealing with that back. I don't think he got the final touch in Nkunku. Should have been a corner.
I think he's got hold of him, Augustiniak, on Nkunku.
He's got a touch, he's got a slight pull, but I don't think, Joe, there's enough there to say that's a definite penalty, because you get that kind of physicality in the box as well. But I don't blame him trying to claim a penalty for sure. At the very least, should have been a corner.
It's still 0-0, but much better from Chelsea, who are looking suddenly a greater threat. They've absolutely dominated possession, no question about that, in the first 36.5 minutes on TalkSport 2. Just haven't been able to break down a very determined rearguard, but Legia living a little nervously there.
Yeah, well, in the last just 10 minutes, they've gone from 3 shots and none on target, Chelsea, to 9 shots and 2 on target. So they've absolutely stepped it up for sure. It's been much better. And they've not been afraid to get the ball in the box, whether it's coming from corners or the header back. You've got the big boy still up there as well. It's a great header from Badiashile, really was.
Champong wriggles his way infield, steers it square to James. Very crowded central midfield area, so Chelsea forced to go wide. Badiashile to the far side, and Gusto level with the edge of the box, tucks it back infield to James. Long range dipping effort, and that's going to flash well wide in the end.
Yeah, that wasn't the best of shots, but we know that Reece James has got a great strike in him, don't we? Still don't know why he didn't celebrate scoring for England, his first goal.
Oh, what a goal it was.
Unbelievable free kick.
And he's got quite a chilled demeanour, hasn't he? That's his style. He's a top player.
Oh, do you know what? At his best, without injuries, I think he's the best right back in the world.
It's just such a shame, isn't it, that he hasn't been able so far in his career to keep himself regularly fit. And Enzo Maresca has talked about managing his minutes in recent weeks.
And which is why we're seeing him in midfield, I think, because it's not quite, you don't have those high intensity sprints, so much pressure on the hamstrings.
Here come Chelsea with Acheampong. They play the ball neatly out of the defensive third. Acheampong forward from the right back position up towards the halfway line, just jinks infield away from Morishita. Back to the centre circle, and James tucks it to his left, and Badiashile with the angled ball further wide to the far side. Tyreek George. Nice football from Chelsea, reverse ball by George to Malo Gusto, and the cross is blocked at the near post, and then Jolik is caught by George. He's recovered from that little knock that he took earlier on, Pavel Jolik, and it'll be a free kick to Legia Warsaw inside their own penalty area. They've done the job that they'd want to do through the first 39 minutes or so, but for Chelsea it's certainly not been for the want of trying. And the point that you make, Scott, is a good one. Even if this were to end 0-0, absolute worst case, I think Chelsea got a second leg, and they're not going to be beaten surely by this team over 2 legs.
They shouldn't, and I'm very wary to say that they definitely won't be, but no, I think we've already seen, don't forget, we're away from home at the moment, and they're absolutely dominating this with well over 70% of possession. It's just about now trying to convert that possession. They're starting to create chances, and now can you get one of these chances a goal? We talked about how they have to be patient, and the goals might come in the second half. But yeah, you know what, I think they would be disappointed if it ended up being a 0-0 draw, but I still think you go back to the bridge and think it's a one-off game. You're playing at home against this team that you've already sort of dominated at their place. we should go on to the next round quite easily.
There's a long way still to go, even in the first leg as well. Palmer with a poor pass, giving it straight to Jolek, but James is there dominating that midfield area to win it back straight away off Chodina. Palmer with the gloves on, middle of the Legia half, and he's just stroked it wide to the right-hand side, and Sancho, infield to Dewsbury Hall, pokes it back to Sancho. Now at Champong again. The live football continues from 8 o'clock. Tottenham against Frankfurt on TalkSport 2. Lyon against Manchester United over on TalkSport. Two massive European nights to come. Cole Palmer driving down the middle for Chelsea. Oh, he's gone down very close to the edge of the box, and the referee says there wasn't sufficient contact to give a free kick, and it would have been in perfect shooting range. Now George for Chelsea. Forward to Nkunku, back to goal, waits for the run of Gusto on the overlap. Palmer standing in the middle, waiting for a cross. Might open up here for James, left of centre. 25 yards out. Tops it square to Sancho. Chelsea have slowed down here to walking pace again because Legia have funneled everybody behind the ball. Reverse cross into the penalty area is headed away. Now Benoit Badiashile on to Tyreek George, corner of the area, wriggles in field, but he can't get the shot away. He's nudged it wide left, good return ball back to George, in towards Palmer with the low cross, and steered behind by Elitim. That was lovely football from Chelsea, and they win their fourth corner, 0-0.
Right, two things. I'd love to see that again with that on the edge of the box, because that looked like an absolute foul for me. He gets a little bit of the ball, but it doesn't really go anywhere, and Cole Palmer gets pulled down. It's a definite foul. Tyreek George on the left-hand side is actually showing Jadon Sancho how to play as a winger, and he's the youngster. He's looked so direct. He's able to come inside or outside, just had a couple of touches, then went again, and nearly got the cross in.
Dewsbury Hall hangs up the corner high towards the back post. Achiampong and Tosin both went for the same ball. It's nodded away by Jolek initially. Chelsea have it again with James, who's put in a very authoritative performance so far. I say in front of the back four, I don't think Chelsea need a back four so far tonight. Big diagonal by James, lovely ball out to the left, slightly heavy touch by George, but Vinagre's not been able to keep his clearance in play. You can't criticise the home team for sitting as they have done. They know that Chelsea are massive favourites, probably the best team in the competition. Even the opposition are aware of that. And you can't blame them for sitting as deep and as defensively as they have done. The problem for Legia will come if they do end up conceding.
Yeah, and look, okay, let's not blame them at all, but what's the worst case result for them? Then you would think a draw. Well, obviously a defeat, but even a draw. You're going back to Stamford Bridge in a one-off game. They have to somehow find a way to win this game, in my opinion, but at this moment in time there's so much on the back foot. They're just trying to stay in the game. And when Chelsea are on top in the way that they are, they have to try and find a way to get that goal. I genuinely think if Chelsea get 1-0, they can get 2 or 3 here.
Here's Cole Palmer, right edge of the penalty area. The angle is tight, so he tries the cross, and it's come off Jurgen Elitim. It's another corner for Chelsea, and really it's Legia defending the edge of their own 18-yard box here in Warsaw at the moment, and this corner is going to be taken right in front of the Chelsea fans.
Yeah, there's just so much on the back foot at the moment, Legia Warsaw, and they're trying to get to half-time. I think Gonzalo Feal look at his watch, thinking when is half-time. It'll be interesting to see if he tries to change anything.
Corner's taken short, it's played back for Malo Gusto to drift in the cross, nodded away this time by Augustiniak. Still no great threat to the Legia Warsaw goal overall. Think about that save that the goalkeeper made to deny Keane and Dewsbury Hall, but slim pickings really for Chelsea. Not that there's been any sign of a lack of assurance about the Chelsea performance. It is just tough to break down 11 men.
Yeah, and look, we've got to be realistic about this, Joe. Anyone who thinks that Chelsea should go on and win this 4-0 and score 2 in each half, it doesn't work like that. We're in the knockout stages of European football. Yes, it's the third tier of European football, but gone to their place, to their den, and they're absolutely bossing it.
It's a massive night for Legia Warsaw.
It's a massive night for them, playing against one of the big boys of Europe historically. Now, Chelsea want to get into the Champions League. It's not about Europa
what this
Conference.
competition does.
No, or even the Europa League. Chelsea Football Club need to be in the Champions League, and they're showing they're on top. So look, I'm not surprised to see how it's going, but to say that they should be 2 or 3-0 up already, Chelsea, it just doesn't come that easy in Europe in these knockout stages.
Well, they want to win trophies, and they want to win it all. If they do win it, they'll have won it all. at Chelsea
That's true.
across UEFA club competitions.
The only team to have done it as well.
That's
Three
it.
active UEFA European, plus the Cup Winners' Cup, which obviously is no more.
So there's incentive for Chelsea with all of that. 0-0. Last few seconds of normal time. I wonder how much, if any, added time we'll get at the end of the first half. We're into it now. I'm not sure if there has been any announced. Yes, there's a minute of added time in the first half here in Warsaw.
Yeah, and you say they want to win this trophy, and of course they do. They're in it at the moment, but I certainly hope Chelsea Football Club are not in this trophy for many years to come.
Forward by Badiashile down the middle, and Kunku back to goal. He's been forced away from goal by Augustiniak. Out on the left is Tyreek George, sets up Gusto, corner of the area, back to George again. Now James takes over, infield to Palmer, nice touch, edge of the D. Palmer, there's space out wide to the left, the cross is dinked in, headed by Dewsbury Hall is just wide. They really opened up Legia Warsaw there, did Chelsea. It was a fine move, and after an excellent delivery by Nkunku, the touch was a glancing one from Dewsbury Hall. He didn't seem to make good contact with the header, and it's drifted narrowly wide.
Yeah, not in this competition, I mean, not trophy, but what an opportunity that was. I mean, that's the best one of the first half, really. Obviously, Dewsbury Hall had that shot, which was a good shot and a good save, but it was from outside the box. They worked it so that actually they were able to get into the final third. A good cross coming in. He's free, 8 yards out. He's got to get better connection on it.
Well, that is the half-time whistle, and Kieran Dewsbury Hall has had Chelsea's two good chances in the first half. The first in effort turned away by the goalkeeper Kasper Tobias, and then that glancing header wide in first half stoppage time. Chelsea had absolutely bossed it in terms of possession and territory, but Legia Warsaw, credit to them for putting up a stubborn defensive rearguard, and that in part, Scott Minto, is why it is 0-0 at half-time.
Yeah, absolutely. 75% possession, 10 shots to 3, 2 on target to 0, and that's where perhaps Chelsea could do a little bit better, just getting that more shots on target, testing the goalkeeper more, and what an opportunity that was for Kieran Dewsbury Hall right at the end. And you get the feeling if that was a Nicholas Jackson, or maybe even one of the centre halves up there from a corner, they hit the target and you give the keeper no chance at all. But Chelsea have bossed it, they've been in control. Perhaps people will feel that it should be 1 or 2-0 up, but I'm genuinely not unhappy. We thought it'd be difficult in the first half. Actually, it's been easy, and we thought, now can you go on and win the game and perhaps even kill off the tie to a point in the second half?
Well, you can understand the Legia Warsaw approach. They had one half chance early on when Augustiniak's header, really in the opening couple of minutes, was turned away by Josh Achampong. But their goal is a clear one, to play for a 0-0 and try and hit Chelsea on the counter-attack as the game goes on. Do you think it should open up? At least Scott, Legia are bound to tire, aren't they, in certain areas?
Well, I think that's the aim. You know, when you're playing away from home or against a team that's just sitting back, what you want to try and do, you mentioned it earlier, is move the ball quickly. So it's not necessarily about trying to create immediate chances. If you can, that's great, but what it is also trying to do is tire the team out. So when the last 20, 25 minutes, you know, they're not quite able to get as positioned in the way that they did in the first half. And I think you have to say as well, boy, do Chelsea have options coming off the bench if they want as well, with the likes of Nicholas Jackson, Noni Madueke and Enzo Fernandez, you know, Pedro Neto. There's so many options there if Enzo Maresca wants it. Again, first half dominated. Let's see how the first 10-15 minutes go in the second half, and if he needs to make substitutions to step it up even more, he's certainly able to do that.
And of course, the second leg is still to come.
Absolutely.
Scott Minto, thank you for now. Former Chelsea defender with us here on TalkSport 2. You are listening to Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 0, brought to you in partnership with TNT Sports, the home of European football.
TalkSport 2, official broadcast partner of the Premier League and the EFL.
Europa Conference League Live on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whether you're on holiday, home or away this summer, Enterprise has locations all over Europe and a vehicle that's just right for you.
Subway knows you love a good deal. So say hello to Sub Yay. Deals that will make you go, yay. Like 10% off your whole order, getting a meal deal upgrade, or buy one get one free on a 6-inch. That's Sub Yay. Get a fresh deal every week exclusively on the Subway app. Subway, 60 years fresher than ever. See the Subway app for specific offer availability and T's and C's. Freshly prepared for order.
Mickey could try to sell his car privately. Or get it sold today with We Buy Any Car. He could spend days on end trying to sell to a bunch of time wasters. or sell in a flash and head to the fun fair with the kids? Proper gutted. Or proper impressed? To get a quote in 30 seconds, enter your reg number now at webuyandycar.com.
Money Super 7, you've been saving people serious money, but they deserve even more. Can I count on you?
Always, boss. For a start, Money Supermarket give everyone a £15 reward just for switching their car insurance.
That's a very good start.
And that's on top of saving up to £486.
And when they keep on saving with us, we'll give them more and more rewards.
See how much you could save with Money Supermarket. 51% could save up to £486. Consumer Intelligence, January 25. Rewards include gift cards. Qualifying purchase with logged in account. 18 plus UK only. See site for T's and C's.
Hello, Jonathan Warburton. Professor Thomas here, and I'm in a bit of hot water. I can't stop talking about your new Belgian waffles. Instead of Euclidean sequences, I'm lecturing students about your lovely chewy waffles. Your Belgian bites might be exquisitely delicious, but they won't help the undergrads understand multivariable calculus. Mind you, they've learned how to say waffles in Belgian. It's waffles. Ta-ra for now. Warburton's Belgian waffles. Worth waffling on about.
Get unbeatable coverage of all the biggest sports headlines with the back page review on TalkSport with Tesco Mobile for Business. Every weekday morning from 6, listen to the Superstar Breakfast for all the breaking news you need to know, the latest views you need to hear, and the big name interviews you can't afford to miss. The back page review on TalkSport with Tesco Mobile for Business. From side hustle to startup, get business phone bills for up to 40% less than the big mobile networks. For terms of verification, visit tescomobile.com/business.
TalkSport 2. Traffic and travel.
West Yorkshire, the M1 southbound is partly blocked after a collision that's happened at junction 41 for Cargate. In Oxfordshire, the M40 southbound is partly blocked after a collision. That's between junction 10 for the A43 and junction 9 for Bicester and the A34. And in Surrey, long delays on the M25 anti-clockwise. That's partly blocked after a collision. It happened at junction 11 for Chertsey with queues back past Heathrow at junction 14. I'm Adam Moore.
This Saturday, game day is go. A massive day crammed full of high-octane Premier League drama featuring 2 exclusive games.
What a winner!
Manchester City versus Crystal Palace. Kick-off 12:30 on TalkSport.
Oh, it's in!
Southampton versus Aston Villa. Kick-off 3 p.m. on TalkSport 2.
A goal to savour!
100% total football each and every weekend. Game day on TalkSport and TalkSport 2. The passion, the pain, and the poetry of the beautiful game.
He's fired to the beauty!
The Europa Conference League live on TalkSport 2.
Finds Spence on the overlap, and surely it's going to be tapped in by Oliver. That will calm the nerves and the anxiety, because Tottenham now have one foot firmly planted in the Europa League quarter-finals.
We're on a tough run, but we know how important Thursday night is.
If Spurs are going to catch Eintracht at any point, it might as well be now. They've lost 4 out of 6 in the Bundesliga. That's not great.
For me, the Premier League is gone. If you win Europa League, mate, it's an unbelievable season for Tottenham.
It is all about the Europa League.
Everything's now in that Europa League pot. We have to go for it. It's without a doubt Spurs' priority now.
This is Solanke setting up third. Brilliant from Tottenham.
I think it's going to be close, but Spurs could do it.
Europe's always been at the forefront of our minds, and most importantly for us is we're in it, so because we're in it, we've got a chance.
You are listening to the Conference League live on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Rent from the best lineup in the UK. Enterprise has all the vehicles your business needs with the flexibility to rent for minutes or months. It is Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 0 in the quarter-final first leg in the Conference League. Second half commentary to come on TalkSport 2. Once we're done tonight, a choice of listening on the TalkSport network. Hugh Woozencroft is going to be keeping an eye on Lyon against Manchester United over on TalkSport, and Jim Proudfoot will be your commentator ahead of Tottenham against Frankfurt in that Europa League quarter-final first leg live here on TalkSport 2. Jim is at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. A very good evening to you. It's a massive night, isn't it, of Europa League football, Jim?
Joe, thank you. Very good evening to you as well. Well, you've got to go back to 1984 for the last time that Spurs beat European opposition in a continental quarter-final. That was a victory against Austria Vienna in the UEFA Cup, a tournament that they subsequently won. But 41 years on, how they need to end that record. It's hard to imagine that Ange Postecoglou will be in charge next season if Spurs don't win the Europa League. And there's an element of the club support that would argue that his time is up anyway. Hugh Woozencroft alongside me. Hugh, if they do lift this trophy, should he be retained?
Good evening, Jim. Well, I think the short answer would have to be yes. Obviously, 17 years since Spurs last lifted a trophy. This is a European trophy, no less, and it would take them into the Champions League. You know, I think despite where they are in the Premier League, you may have offered to some Tottenham fans a bottom half finish and the Europa League trophy, and they probably would have taken it at the start of the season. So that's just how funny the game is. Look, he's having a very difficult time at the moment. His side not playing the way that he would have hoped. It is a beautiful evening here in North London. It is certainly not the evening for an acrimonious defeat. He will want his side to play some good stuff, but ultimately it is all about winning games. For me, if he wins ugly between here and the end of the season and he can lift that Europa League title, he will probably go down as a Spurs legend. We'll all forget what happened in the Premier League. He certainly needs an improvement from his side at this point. I'm hoping that with some players coming back from injury, it gets back towards being his best side. They will start to produce something near their best in the closing stages of the season.
Well, there's certainly no shortage of background noise ahead of the game. So how difficult do you think it's going to be for the players to shut that out and to play the opposition rather than the situation?
Well, they need to focus on the opposition. I mean, I know we heard there in the little package out of the break that, you know, they haven't had a great time, Eintracht Frankfurt, in the Bundesliga, but they're third in the table for a reason at this stage of the campaign. The table doesn't really lie. You cannot take them lightly. They are in the quarterfinals of the Europa League for a reason. So every team that have made it to this stage needs to be taken seriously. My only issue would be, due to the noise coming from off the field, is if it's a poor first half. Imagine at the break they're 2-0 down. Do things go from bad to worse for Ange Postecoglou? We've heard in his press conferences there's a little bit of needle. He doesn't like some of the questions he's been asked. We saw with the way, and we were there live on TalkSport last Thursday at Stamford Bridge, with him cupping his ears to those fans in the away section that weren't happy with his substitutions. You know, this team needs to be together if they're going to have a positive end to the season. If there's any kind of back and forth between the manager and those sitting behind him, which we've seen here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium before as well, you know, some of those fans voicing their displeasure, and things go from bad to worse for him, a bad result, a bad feeling leaving this ground tonight. This competition has saved a few managers the Europa League over the years at Tottenham Hotspur, that it could be a very difficult evening for him.
Thank you, Hugh. Well, we're still waiting for the confirmed team news here, Joe. It's expected Mickey van der Ven will return, that changes are going to be kept to a minimum elsewhere. Eintracht still without their captain and keeper Kevin Trapp. And our build-up will start at the end of your game at 7:45. Ben Mee alongside me for an 8 o'clock kickoff here on TalkSport 2.
Thanks very much indeed, Jim. Yes, Spurs against Frankfurt to come. Live with us on TalkSport 2 at 8 o'clock. Lyon against Manchester United over on TalkSport. Just download our free app and you can swipe between both stations at your leisure. Big night then for Ruben Amorim. Maybe an even bigger night for Ange Postecoglou. He's been speaking to the media ahead of today's game, and he says he's
rejuvenate the squad, because it was a squad that was coming to the end of a cycle, and bring success. And as long as I'm in this position, that's always my focus. And irrespective of whatever noise there is or whatever there may or may not be in the future, I don't see that should diminish my sort of burning ambition and desire and my determination to make that happen. I mean, you know, that's anything you achieve in life, you know, usually comes with a struggle. Certainly everything I've achieved in my life has come with a struggle, from a professional perspective. So this is just another struggle, but never through this struggle have I thought, I've lost the will to fight for what I think is the right thing to do, and we'll continue to do that.
That's the Spurs boss Ange Postecoglou ahead of our commentary match tonight at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium up against former Europa League winners Frankfurt. We'll talk about a former Europa League winning manager at Frankfurt in Oliver Glasner in just a moment. But first, on tonight, Scott Minto back with me in the commentary position ahead of the second half between Legia Warsaw and Chelsea. Who needs the Europa League more, Scott, ultimately? Is it Ruben Amorim, or is it absolutely vital for Ange Postecoglou and his Tottenham future?
Well, look, if you're talking about the clubs, then both of them needed it probably equally. Maybe even Spurs a little bit more, because they haven't won a trophy since 2008, but actually Manchester United, the biggest club in this country and one of the biggest in the world, you could definitely argue they need it. If you're actually asking me about the managers, then it's 100% Ange Postecoglou. I mean, there's talk that even if he wins the trophy, that maybe he shouldn't be the Spurs manager going forward. I think that would be slightly harsh, but I definitely, if I were the Spurs hierarchy, think and speak to him and sit down with him and say, well, how are you going to do this? Well, he's been moaning all along that, moaning's perhaps a negative word, but he's been saying about the injuries, they haven't got the strength in depth, they have been spending money but not really on salaries, and therefore that tells you that it's more about younger players with potential than ready-made, world-class stars. If they are able to win the trophy, then he becomes a hero for the Spurs fans in that sense, and they're able to attract Champions League players, then this is a sliding doors moment for Tottenham Hotspur, not just for Ange Postecoglou, but for Tottenham Hotspur as well.
Really quick word, Scott, on Oliver Glasner. I think with the Tottenham job of late,
he's good, isn't he?
He's not bad. He's not bad.
I've covered a lot of Palace games, and he's very good indeed. I personally don't like. I think it's disrespectful to Ange Postecoglou to talk about other managers. But look, we're in the media. We've seen it. We've got to discuss it. I think he's one of a number of managers that would do very well at Tottenham Hotspur. But let's wait and see first and foremost whether Ange can actually get them to win the Europa League. I personally don't think I don't think either of the English sides will. Whether they actually even get to the final, we'll have to wait and see. They're in the bottom half of the Premier League, but can they switch it on for the cup competitions? We should wait and see.
Yep, we'll find out. And of course, it all starts in the quarter-finals tonight for Tottenham at home to Frankfurt on TalkSport 2. And we'll bring you team news shortly. Lyon against Manchester United is on TalkSport. Couple of changes for Chelsea at half-time. 0-0 here in Warsaw. Levi Colwill replaces Tosin at half-time, so that's a straight swap in central defence, and Noni Madueke is onto the field as well, just waiting for confirmation as to who he's replacing. Cole Palmer hooked at half-time, so another game without a goal and another disappointing night for Chelsea and England's Cole Palmer. Scott?
That's an interesting one, isn't it? You would have thought that Chelsea would want to sort of step it up and win this game. Perhaps he's thinking about minutes and managing him from a physical point of view. I think Cole Palmer would have wanted the full 90, but we've spoken about how, yes, of course they want to win a European trophy, Chelsea, but got to finish in that top 5 come the end of the season, so got to keep them fresh. Some big games coming up.
Well, the game's back underway. It is Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 0. Chelsea playing from right to left in the second half, all in royal blue, and Legia from left to right. Towards the end, that houses the 750 travelling fans. Legia in the white shirts, black shorts and white socks. And the pattern of play already seems established, just seconds into the second period. Chelsea in possession, Legia sitting very deep. So, while they settle into the second half, let's get the all-important team news at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium with your match commentator Jim Proudfoot.
And there are 2 changes, Joe, to the Spurs side that beat Southampton at the weekend. Destiny Udogie comes in for Jed Spence, and as expected, Mickey van der Ven returns to replace Ben Davis. It's Vicario in goal, Porro, Romero, van der Ven and Udogie, Bergvall, Bentancur and Madison, Johnson, Solanke and Son. And Eintracht make one change with Rasmus Christensen, the right back on loan from Leeds, coming in for Namdi Collins.
Thank you, Jim, as Chelsea go close again. Kidd and Dewsbury Hall out of nothing with a flicked header after a Reece James delivery from almost the edge of the penalty area. Did very well to loft that in with next to no angle to work with. And Dewsbury Hall now with a hat-trick of chances. He's free on the edge of the 6-yard box, and he gets the header wrong again, and you can see his frustration, Scott.
That's the phrase I was going to use. He could be on a hat-trick now, couldn't he? I mean, to be fair, it was a decent save, the first one. I feel he should have done better in the air just before half-time. He got to hit the target and score in that one. I actually think this one was a more difficult chance, even though I think he was slightly closer to goal, because it was a little bit behind him, and he's almost sort of trying to create a little bit of power as well as precision. But that's 3 opportunities, certainly 2 very good ones. Unfortunately, they didn't fall on his left foot. It was more in the air.
Legia Warsaw nearly winning it high up the Chelsea half of the field, but Chelsea quickly with Badiashile sending it back into opposition territory, and Sancho can run at the fullback. Jolek here, 0-0, slips in, George inside the penalty area, back it goes to Sancho, trying to work an angle for a shot. He's driven towards the edge of the dead ball line, and he's cleverly flicked out off Jolek at the very last moment to tease out a Chelsea corner. Let me just give you the Chelsea team. Jorgensen in goal, Gusto, Achampong, Colwell and Badiashile. In fact, I'll break off because the corner's been taken short very quickly, and then it's a disappointing delivery by Malo Gusto. Doesn't travel very far. And Legia look long for the central striker Morishita, who's basically been playing as a defensive midfielder throughout. His first touch is very poor upfield, and he's lost it straight away.
I'll tell you what, that was a good race, wasn't it? Reece James, we know, is quick, but actually he couldn't catch him up. We're interested to see whether he would have been able to, with a better touch, just keep up that stride, and if Reece James would have caught him. But there was no one at the back, there was no one on the halfway line just covering that, so the counter-attack was definitely on.
Well, the midfield two for Chelsea are James and Dewsbury Hall, with Madueke playing out on the right, it looks like, Sancho down the left for the moment, and George in support of Nkunku. Almost does a front two at times when Chelsea have got the ball. Madueke goes on the outside, good lunging challenge by the former QPR man Pavel Jolek. Still 0-0 here on TalkSport 2. Madueke with a left-footed in-swinging delivery to the back post, nodded back across by Sancho, floated in by Gusto, and then headed clear by Steve Kapwadi. Then James hits the ball from range, and Tyreek George is there after the goalkeeper turned it away to tap home the rebound at his first senior goal. What a moment for the young man here in Warsaw. The goalkeeper could only parry the long-range drive from Reece James, and Tyreek George there to gleefully snap home the rebound. It's a landmark moment for him, and a first-leg lead for Chelsea. Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 1.
Brilliant, brilliant. The perfect way to start the second half, and I have to say Tyreek George was one of Chelsea's best players in the first half. Was really direct, playing more so on the left than the right, which did actually surprise me. But you're right, it's Madueke who's come on the right. Tyreek George he's almost playing like a 10, but Christopher Nkunku's dropping off a lot, which means that Tyreek George is finding himself as almost a number 9, and that's what we saw there. I mean, if I were Christopher Nkunku, I'd be thinking I should have been playing a little bit further up, and that should have been me, but it's the youngster who's read the situation. Reece James, he's chested it, he's shot, he's made sure it's kept on target. Keeper's parried it out. Tyreek George was like an absolute natural number 9, which of course we know he isn't, but was first on the ball. And in the end, is can you just get it on target, away from the goalkeeper? He did just that. Brilliant. Well done, the youngster.
Well, what a moment for Tyreek George. First goal in senior football for Chelsea, and that has them on their way. Benoit Badiashile has to get across and concede a corner, but now the onus on Legia Warsaw becomes even more difficult. They've got to come out and try and surely get something in this first leg if they're to have any chance, and that'll leave gaps at the back for Chelsea to try and exploit when they do win it back. 1-0 Chelsea lead. Tyreek George with the only goal of the game so far. There will be a corner for Legia on this near side there right in front of the Chelsea fans. Vinagre's taken it short to Luquinhas, back out wide to Vinagre. Right corner of the penalty area, trying to turn beyond Nkunku. He's helped out by Madueke, who gets a half tackle in. Goes on the outside in the end, does Vinagre. Good work by Madueke again, keeping his defensive discipline strong. And eventually he's fouled by Vinagre, and that'll be a free kick. The Legia Warsaw team, Tobias, the goalkeeper, Jolek, Pankov, Kapwadi and Vinagre, Oyedeli, Augustiniak and Elitin, Chodina, Morishita and Luquinhas, the front three. But there's been nothing for Philip Jorgensen to do. In fact, he's on the ball at the moment, the Chelsea goalkeeper, all in orange, almost forgot that he was here. And Chelsea now, not only with the comfort of dominating possession and territory, but with the comfort of a goal to go with it.
Yeah, I mean, he's not had a shot to save yet, has he, of the whole game. And just we're only 6.5 minutes into the second half already at 76% possession. 3 shots to 0, 2 on target to 0. Chelsea have just completely stepped it up, they really have.
Legia 0, Chelsea 1. They go long towards George, the goal scorer down the inside left channel. Good work by Kapwadi coming across, but he can only slice and shank the clearance straight out of play. With the Conference League on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. whether you're on holiday, at home or away this summer. Enterprise has locations all over Europe and a vehicle that is just right for you. Jolek is going to come off here for Legia Warsaw. He did take a knock in the first half, and maybe he's not recovered from that. Perhaps it's a tactical change. They brought on Patrick Kun here, have Legia early in the second half, and with the scoreline very much against them. Madueke pulls it back for Dewsbury Hall. He's just inside the box. White shirts flooding around him to try and stop him from getting the crossing. Chelsea have got it with Badiashile. Forward to James. Now out on the inside left is Gusto. Further wide to Sancho. Taking on Kun, who's only just come onto the field and has now got defending to do. Gusto on the overlap, heads for the dead ball line. Whips in a lovely cross, asking to be headed home. Dewsbury Hall couldn't quite get there this time.
Oh, what a ball that was. My goodness, that was like Iron Robin at his best. he's a right back, playing left back. There's a left winger just there. Brilliant ball in. Again, it's Kiernan Dewsbury Hall who's closest to it. Couldn't get anywhere near it then, but he's desperate for a goal, you can see that. Trying to get into the box as much as possible. And look, it's definitely Tyreek George who's playing further up the field. Christopher Nkunku playing like a 10. It's George who's stretching this Legia Warsaw defence sometimes with balls over the top, and fair play to him. He's looking. We talked about whether he'd be, intimidated in any way, overawed by the atmosphere. No chance at all.
Delightful ball, only just smuggled away. Tottenham Frankfurt on TalkSport 2, Lyon Manchester United on TalkSport. They are just over an hour away from kicking off in those Europa League quarter-final first leg ties, and our Premier League darts coverage about to get underway once again tonight on the TalkSport Darts YouTube channel. You can watch and listen as our coverage unfolds tonight. Friday night, huge game from the EFL, Burnley against Norwich, and lots to come over Saturday and Sunday. Manchester City against Crystal Palace, Leeds against Preston, and the Virtue Trophy final as well between Birmingham City and Peterborough United. The best way to be across all of that, just download our TalkSport app. You can swipe between both stations as and when you need to. Chelsea throw, left wing near side, Sancho with it, quickly infield to James. And it looks as though Legia, Scott, have adopted the same approach. Even though they've conceded, they're 1-0 down, they're hanging back on the edge of the area. Flicked by George into the box, got it across by Gusto, back to George, trying to hit it on the volley. Kun is able to clear away.
Yeah, but they're more open now, aren't they? And again, we talked about how in the first half that, yes, Chelsea perhaps in the first 20-30 minutes weren't creating clear-cut chances, but it's about being patient. It's a 90-minute plus game. It's about moving the ball around, trying to tie them out. We said about how well organised they seemed in the first half, but it's very difficult to be chasing and playing with like 30-35% possession maximum for the whole of the 90 minutes. In the second half, it feels like Chelsea have stepped it up a bit, but actually you can see that Legia Warsaw just look a little bit more tired than they did in the first half.
Scott Minto with us. This game is brought to you in partnership with TNT Sports, the home of European football. We're 10.5 minutes into the second half. It's Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 1. And Nkunku back to the halfway line. Colwell's just inside the centre circle, little 1-2 with Badiashile. Be interested to see if there was any sort of knock for Cole Palmer at the break, whether it was purely tactical. Chelsea have got another Premier League home game against Ipswich, which they should win at the weekend, although of course it's very important for them in the race for Champions League football. You can't get Champions League by winning the Conference League. The best that can do is get you Europa League football. So Chelsea need to keep winning in the Premier League with games running out, 7 games to go.
Yeah, if you look at their games in May, Liverpool at home, Newcastle away, Manchester United at home, Forest away.
It's an intimidating end to the season.
It is. So, 1, players do have to be managed. But 2, I think it goes to show that in terms of April and the fixtures they've got.
Well, they've won it back here, Chelsea, with Sancho into the penalty area, slips in Madueke, rolls it in for 2. Easy as you like. And Chelsea take a vice-like grip on the quarter-final now. You already feel there might be no way back for Legia Warsaw. Good work by Sancho after the home team gave it away. He slipped in Madueke's square and he gleefully rolled it home, wrong-footing the goalkeeper to make it Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 2, and we haven't yet played an hour.
Well, the second half has been so much better from Chelsea, but again, I go back to the fact is that they just look really tired now, Legia Warsaw. They're not able to get close to the Chelsea players when they're on the ball. They're not able to look as well organised as they were in the first half, and that's because Chelsea were moving it around all the time. And yeah, substitutions have made a difference. Certainly, Noni Madueke coming on the pitch, really good finish. Defenders dropped off far too deep, but it is good play from Sancho, trying to be direct, passing it in the box to Madueke, who takes that first touch, and he's really calm, isn't he? He looks like he's going to go towards the far post, and in the end it's towards the near. Keeper goes one way, ball goes the other. Suddenly now Chelsea are looking really comfortable. Really important now, Joe, that Chelsea don't just sit back. You know, I take 2-0 now, don't concede, don't make it back to 2-1. Keep that clean sheet, and if you can get the third, so be it, but certainly keep it to 2-0 at the very least.
And Noni Madueke with a fist pump to the travelling Chelsea fans. 750 have made the trip to Poland. There's a change on the field. Colwell's got the armband because Reece James has gone off, and Mark Cucurella has come on, so a little bit of reorganisation to take place here for Chelsea, but you can understand the decision to just manage Reece James's minutes. Nearly an hour played, and now it's 2-0 to Chelsea. It's as good as over this tie, you feel. Out on the left comes Vinagre for Legia Warsaw. He has won a corner off Malo Gusto, but if Chelsea keep their composure and their concentration in the last half an hour, they've pretty much got 1 foot in the semi-final even before the second leg next week.
Yeah, it's absolutely about concentration now. If they just sit back, again with set pieces, we know that any team can be dangerous set pieces. Pick up your man, be tight, but also in open play as well. Don't just think, right, this job is done.
They've now scored 31 goals in this season's Conference League as Vinagre hoists in the corner for Legia Warsaw, and Augustiniak, the captain, was in a good area actually, about 7 yards out, but he could only head it wide. Didn't really get the contact that he wanted under pressure from a combination of George and Achampong. But Chelsea have been very efficient when the chances have come their way in this second half. Cucurella in the left-back area, a little flick by Sancho down the left, and Nkunku's got to it first on the near side. Wriggles away from the defender on the halfway line, nudges it forward towards George. Across comes Capuani from behind him, but George has held it up nicely. Down on this near side, the left by the corner flag. Terrific strike play. He's rolled it back to Nkunku. The ball has stayed in play just about. Nkunku gets it back from Cucurella. Chelsea look like now, with an hour gone, they could score almost at will. And the tie really would be over well and truly. Cucurella 30 yards out is dispossessed by Oyedele this time. Oyedele trying to lead a break for Legia Warsaw. He's played it back in field to Kun. Quickly to the right hand side, and Chodina finds Kun with a good reverse ball inside right channel. He can steer it across. It's a terrible delivery. He's put it behind the goal frame from a really promising position, and actually probably Legia Warsaw's best move of the entire game, and he had to do better there.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think it was just switching off Cucurella, who's just come on, and I have to say has been sensational this season, but he's allowed that ball to go in behind. And Kun's looked up. He could have played it across first time, he didn't. He took the extra touch, and then the second touch was just not behind the goal. What a waste of an opportunity. But again, that's what I'm talking about. Chelsea just need to make sure they don't switch off.
2-0 to Chelsea on TalkSport 2. Yet to have an effort on target in the game, the home side so far. The home fans are still certainly bringing the atmosphere, and they're all on their feet around the stadium. It's a really vibrant, noisy arena, and the crowd are quite close to the pitch, and certainly enjoying at least the atmosphere side of things, but Chelsea are just so in control of the game and of the tie in a competition that they are expected to go all the way in. And Chelsea look for Noni Madueke down the right hand side. I think he just drifted into an offside position there, Scott.
But it's about game management now. You know, as I say, I take 2-0. You go back to Stamford Bridge and you're 2-0 up, then there's no way. I'm sorry, I don't mind now saying it. There's no way that they're going to get knocked out. But just don't concede that goal. Keep that clean sheet. If they can make sure they go the whole 90 minutes plus without even a shot on target, conceding that, then that is brilliant. But again, it's about the mind, about the concentration. Stay on top. You can get the third goal, great, but don't concede.
Chelsea, if they do reach the semis, would end up playing Djurgården of Sweden, or of course Austria's Rapid Vienna in the last 4. Sancho into the area, right-footed curling shot, good save, turned away by Kasper Tobias. It was close enough to the goalkeeper that he wasn't at full stretch, but Sancho again marauding infield from the left, looked a threat for Chelsea there, still 2-0.
Yeah, and look, I'm not Jadon Sancho's biggest fan. I don't think he's quite got the pace to get past players, and sometimes it looks like he does a great trick, but still then just passes it backwards. But I've been really impressed with his attitude tonight. He's tried to be a little bit more direct. After what, the first 20 minutes he was sort of just passing it back. I think he's seen Tyreek George on the other side, certainly in the first half, be really direct. I do wonder whether Enzo Maresca's had a word with him, and coming in off the left, where you do have that option of going on the outside or coming inside, I think that favours him when you're not quite as quick. He's looked dangerous, he has, and I think he deserves a goal.
Interestingly for Chelsea on the other side of the draw, potential final opponents, most likely you'd think Real Betis or Fiorentina, which in a one-off game in a final would potentially represent a tough game. Betis have had a decent season under Pellegrini in Spain.
Yeah, Legia Warsaw beaten Real Betis in this competition already this season.
What does that say?
but I do think, yeah, it's going to be interesting. And Fiorentina, well, they love this competition in terms of getting to the final.
Yep, they do.
They're not able to win it.
In a one-off game, you never know.
No,
but
you
Chelsea, you expect to go all the way.
But, you know, again, we're in the good side of the draw. Not going to face
either of those two sides,
no,
Betis or Fiorentina.
A team from Europe's top 5 leagues.
Yep.
In this side, so look, we've still got to do the job, but absolutely Chelsea Football Club should be in the final and should be winning this.
Jadon Sancho raiding forward down the inside left. Cucurella on the overlap. He slipped in. Mark Cucurella angled tight. Cucurella blocked off by the late but effective sliding challenge of Augustinyak. 19 minutes into the second half, with Tottenham against Frankfurt to come next on TalkSport 2. Lyon Man United on TalkSport, followed by the Sports Bars. The Chelsea fans, you can get your calls in later. Still Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 2. And it was good defending that by Augustinyak.
Done that a few times, hasn't he, in this game? Dropping in to help out his defence. And you get the feeling that he might have to do that a few more times as well, because if Chelsea do want that third, you get the feeling that it is there. But I think it's really important now they've scored 2. Keep a clean sheet. Yeah, stay on the front foot very much so, but anybody who feels any kind of tweak at all, just go off, because no player wants to do that, but it really is important from here on in, not just to win this competition, certainly get to the final and win it, but get into the top 5. And we just discussed earlier about how actually the fixtures in May are very difficult indeed. That's going to be just an absolutely crucial month for obvious reasons.
The April fixtures they've got in the Premier League, home games against Ipswich and Everton, and a trip to Fulham, which of course is a West London derby. Fulham with a fantastic result at Stamford Bridge in that fixture earlier this season, and they've beaten Liverpool of late at Craven Cottage, so it will not be easy at all. Dewsbury Hall, edge of the penalty area, square ball towards Badiashile, and he nearly gave it away there. Dewsbury Hall to Chodina, cleared away hurriedly by Badiashile, and that's the only danger for Chelsea with just over a quarter of the first leg to go. They're 2-0 up. Are they going to get complacent in any way? Jürgen Elitin for Legia. Out to the left-hand side in Vinagre, level with the edge of the penalty area. Back infield to Elitin. Very cold conditions here, not far off freezing actually. They're really wrapped up warm on the bench and in the stands. Very different from the conditions we've had at home today. Augustinyak inside right, works it wide to the right-hand side. And Kun with another terrible delivery. Rather tame into the near post and an easy header clear by Mark Cucurella, but it is just complacency, isn't it, that feels like the potential enemy, Scott?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the home side, the home crowd know that, well, look, it's Chelsea. You know, they should be really coming here and dominating, but it's one thing to say that you should, it's another thing to actually do it. And after that initial start in the first couple of minutes, I think it's been all Chelsea.
Cucurella's wide ball to the left. Near side is Sancho, takes it in his stride, and he's keen to run at the defender. Into the box he goes, and he's blocked off in the end by Oyedele. Sancho holds it up, rolls the reverse pass infield to Achampong, and now Malo Gusto just inside the Legia Warsaw half. Boos and whistles with Chelsea on the ball. Madueke Scored the second goal, infield from the right, then twisting back out onto his right foot. Looks for George inside the 6-yard box, headed away by the defender. And then Dewsbury Hall caught that brilliantly on the volley. He absolutely fizzed it, and had it been a yard lower, he'd have scored a stunning third for Chelsea.
It's difficult to say he should be on 4 now, isn't it? But I tell you what, that was close. And he's waited for it to come onto his foot rather than taking it too high. Do much more than that because it was such a good strike and it did it.
And Champong into the penalty area, cuts it across to Nkunku, low shot, saved by Tobias. He is starting to have to work harder and harder here, the goalkeeper. Again, he wasn't put fully at stretch from the effort from Nkunku, but it's a decent save, almost with his knee in the end. It'll be a Chelsea corner.
He's kind of dived past it really, hasn't he? I don't think the shot was very good from Nkunku. Because he's already on the ground, he's come off his knee and gone from the corner. But I do feel if you're the likes of Christopher Nkunku or maybe even Jadon Sancho, you're thinking that I've got to get on the score sheet here. Maybe Sancho thinking more assists, but Christopher Nkunku must be thinking I've got to score here.
Chelsea looking at a 9th straight win in the competition proper. 2-0 up in the first leg of the quarter-final. Corner taken short, then crossed by Dewsbury Hall, header wide by Badiashile. It just drifts wide in the end because Dewsbury Hall was trying to keep it in play. Oyedele did enough for Legia Warsaw to see it behind. He did have a good record at home this season, it's worth saying, and you could see why given the support that they get. 10 wins from 14 in Europe this season, 9 clean sheets in those 14 games, and winning 4 of their last 5 here on this ground. So it's a tough venue for many, but it hasn't really been at all tough in the end for Chelsea tonight, with still over 20 minutes left.
Yeah, only been beaten once at home since mid-September, but there are levels, aren't there? Chelsea have come in and they've absolutely shown who's boss, but just need to be careful, nearly giving the ball away there.
Champong with a slightly loose pass. Colwell managed to steer it away. Colwell with the captain's armband on. Lovely crossfield ball to Cucurella. He hit that slightly off balance and it was perfect. Cucurella finds Nkunku. It's about 10 yards into opposition territory. And Champong just on the edge of the centre circle. Back to Colwell on halfway.
That's Champong in midfield now.
Looks like it, yeah.
It's incredible, isn't it? And look, he's playing like a proper midfielder.
Nkunku driving forward into the box. Oh, he's tripped by the defender. Loose ball drops to Dewsbury Hall. Referee plays the advantage and then pulls the play back to give Chelsea a penalty kick. Nothing came of the resulting effort from Kieran Dewsbury Hall, and in the end, the referee, having left it for the end of the passage of play, decides to pull it back, and I think he's got it absolutely spot on. Chelsea are going to get a penalty here.
Well, I do think it was a foul, but the fact that he allowed it to see what would happen, to see again whether it's on the...
Maybe it's outside the area, Scott.
I think it's just outside. And obviously, if it goes into the box, and remember the line is a part of inside of the box, I'm not sure it was. I think it was just outside, personally. And it's being checked by VAR, but I also think the fact that he allowed Kieran Dewsbury Hall to see what would happen or going forward and see if he can get a shot off. I don't know. I think you either do one or the other. Let's wait and see whether it is a penalty or whether it's a free kick.
Well, it was Augustiniak with a bad lunging challenge, and it ended up actually taking one of Nkunku's boots off his feet. The referee's in conversation with the Legia Warsaw captain now. 19 minutes to go. The home fans haven't stopped singing. It's 2-0 though to Chelsea on TalkSport 2. And just some debate, maybe, as to whether there was also a foul on Dewsbury Hall by Kuhn, who certainly makes contact. So actually they could end up giving a penalty for the latter challenge, Scott.
Can they get 2 penalties in one?
Take them back to back.
That's my Chelsea hand. Look, I think the one with Kuhn, I think that'd be really harsh. Yes, he's caught him, but he's a defender trying to make, block the shot on Dewsbury Hall. I think that'd be really harsh to be given a penalty, and I also think the other one was outside the box, so I can't believe I'm talking myself out of a penalty for either of them, but that's my gut feeling.
Former Chelsea defender Scott Minto, the referee I think is signalling that the decision has been made here. He's trying to usher the players out of the penalty box, and I think it looks like Chelsea might get the spot kick in the end. Nkunku's holding the ball. Penalty check still taking place, and penalty is going to be the eventual decision. Chelsea, after all of that, will get their spot kick after all, and Nkunku will take it.
I wonder what for. Whether it was that initial foul on Nkunku or whether it was for Juice behind. I think it was probably that one, which I've got to be honest with you, from a defender's point of view, I think it's very harsh.
He's enjoyed this competition this season, Christopher Nkunku, and now at the home end in Warsaw, a chance to effectively put this quarter-final tie beyond all doubt already. Nkunku with a couple of big, deep breaths. He'll step up against the goalkeeper, Tobias, right-footed, run up from just inside the penalty area, and he sees it saved. It's an excellent stop by Kasper Tobias, who guessed right. Nkunku right-footed to the goalkeeper's right. Tobias went early to turn it away, and it's still just 2-0 to Chelsea.
Well, again, without seeing replays, I think it was very harsh in the penalty being given, but with my Chelsea out on, I don't really care. Stick it in the back of the net.
Sancho into the area, left-footed low cross, tucked in, Madueke. Chelsea do have 3, and surely now they're all but through to the semi-finals already. Just seconds after the missed penalty, goalkeeper Tobias is led shaking his head again. And Noni Madueke there to turn home Jadon Sancho's cross from close range. He's on a hat-trick, and Chelsea have absolutely cruised tonight. Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 3, and that pretty much wraps up the tie here and now.
Brilliant. Again, really pleased for Chelsea, really pleased for Noni Madueke. Say he's on a hat-trick, only came on at half-time, and yet he will be thinking, right, I want it. And well done to Jadon Sancho again. Again, you know, I've criticised him at times, and what I want to see is wingers, inverted wingers, being able to not just come inside, but go outside as well. It's exactly what he did. Got half a yard, put a great ball in across the box, keeper can't get there. And there must have been 3 or 4 Legia Warsaw defenders, but because the ball was so good, it actually fell to the feet of Noni Madueke. He's run straight to Jadon Sancho, said thank you so much, and so he should. But 3-0 now, absolutely, Joe, that should be it, not just in terms of the night, but going through to the semi-finals.
Well, I don't think there's any question now, is that as Chelsea prepare to make a double substitution, Malo Gusto is the first of the Chelsea players to leave the field, and likewise Tyreek George, who has got his first goal in senior football tonight, much to his delight. Chelsea have brought on Mathis Amugu, one of their very exciting young talents, as part of this double substitution here in Warsaw, with the first leg virtually wrapped up and Chelsea leading by 3-0. For Amugu, it's just his second appearance in a Chelsea shirt and his European competition debut, and I think exactly the situation for Chelsea to bring him into the action. The other Chelsea substitute to come on now is Shim Bahuka, who is just 17 years of age and makes what is his 4th senior appearance for Chelsea, as Ruben Vinagre hits a half volley high over the top for Legia Warsaw. So it's 3-0 to Chelsea, and an opportunity for 2 of the club's very talented youngsters in actually what is a very young squad to take to the field in a European away game, Scott Minter.
Well, it's just ended up being the perfect away game, really, hasn't it, for Enzo Maresca? And don't forget, there was a penalty missing there as well. Clean sheet, not even a shot on target. So defensively, they've been excellent. Going forward, they've scored 3 goals, they've missed the penalty, they're able to make changes and bring on youngsters. Part of me would like to have seen Tyreek George stay on the whole game. I think he's been superb, considering he's a youngster and still very experienced, but he looks like a Chelsea player with a future in the first team. I really like the look of him. But yeah, it's a perfect night for Maresca for sure.
Yes, there are no complaints for the Chelsea boss here. Live on TalkSport 2. Chelsea have been on easy street, really. And of course it raises the prospect that he can play a second string side for the second leg next Thursday. He'll have 1 or 2 in reserve, I'm sure, but Chelsea can effectively prioritise the Premier League next week.
Well, they certainly can, and you know, that Ipswich game, I think you need to get that one for sure. I think that the second leg, he can make changes because Fulham away will be a very, very difficult game. We know that Fulham will be bang up for that one, certainly the fans, the players too. So I think just having the ability to make changes, knowing that there shouldn't be a problem, 3-0 at Stamford Bridge, second string Chelsea should be okay. That's the perfect night all round.
Madueke reverse ball into the box, and Kunku's header towards the edge of the penalty area, retrieved by Augustiniak, who should be able to sweep it away for Legia Warsaw. 3-0 down to Chelsea. Their game plan worked for 45 minutes, but it's come apart in the second half, as we probably thought that it would. And Chelsea have got 12 more minutes still to add further goals.
Yeah, I mean, I say the perfect night all round. I don't think Christopher Nkunku would be thinking that.
Not after missing the penalty.
No, I know what strikers are like, even though he's not your typical striker. I just think it was really important to be patient with the first half too. Okay, not creating too many chances in that first half hour, but keep moving the ball, tire them out. In the second half, they've just got onto another level, and Legia Warsaw have not been able to live with them.
Stay with us on TalkSport 2 for Tottenham against Frankfurt in the Europa League coming next. Ben Mee will be part of our commentary team at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and Lyon against Manchester United on TalkSport. The Sports Bar takes your calls later on tonight over on TalkSport. Burnley Norwich in the Championship tomorrow evening. Manchester City against Crystal Palace, and Leeds against Preston on Saturday in the Virtue Trophy final. Birmingham against Peterborough at Wembley on Sunday, plus goals as they go in over on TalkSport. A lot to look forward to over the coming days. It's a good fun time of the season, this, and for Chelsea, the most important time of the season in the Premier League and in European competition as well. 11 minutes to go. That's felt rather more like a group game, a league phase game this, than a first leg of a quarter-final tie. You can't even put any sort of hope behind the Legia Warsaw effort. It does feel like there is no chance of any comeback already. They made a double change in the last few moments, by the way. Peckhart and Claude Gonçalves on for Luquinhas and Elitim, as the ball is played back to Dewsbury Hall for Chelsea. He's been robbed of possession and then given away by Oyedele, who seems to have hurt himself in that challenge. Capuani smuggles it away, only as far as the Chelsea right-hand side. It's with Madueke, who is on a hat-trick. We've seen Noni Madueke score a hat-trick in the Premier League this season, away at Wolverhampton Wanderers. You wouldn't bet against him perhaps having a late chance for a third before the night is over here in Poland. Chelsea's first trip to Poland, Scott Minto, been a very successful one, and of course they hope they're back in Poland for the final in Wrocław.
Oh, 100%. Well, I can tell you now that even though he's not an out-and-out centre forward, Noni Madueke will definitely be thinking about trying to get a hat-trick. I mean, he was clinical, wasn't he, at Wolves earlier in the season. I'm sure he'll want another one here tonight. It's been a really, really good performance from Chelsea. Don't want any injuries. Keep that clean sheet. If you get the fourth, brilliant, but 3-0, blimey, take that all day long.
That's the one thing Enzo Maresca's looking for, isn't he, now, for the rest of the game? No fitness issues for a Chelsea team that has had plenty of them over recent seasons, and of course Wesley Fofana confirmed out for the rest of the campaign after the hamstring surgery. Kukurea just inside opposition territory. Rolls the pass infield to Nkunku, back to Amugu. Amugu with a poor pass straight down the middle, intercepted or half intercepted by Claude Gonçalves. Chelsea put it back half the pitch again, and Kukurea's launched it straight out of play. Going to make another change now, the home team. A double substitution, in fact. Chak Chian is going to take to the field. Oyedele is coming off here, having taken a knock just a few moments ago, and there is the tremendous soundtrack of the home supporters in the background. singing and support has been constant from the very off. Chodina is going to leave the pitch as well. Szczepaniak is the other player taking to the field for Legia Warsaw late on here. It will no doubt be a memorable occasion for them next week, just as a spectacle getting to go to Stamford Bridge, one of the historic grounds of European football, but it'll just be that in the second leg. There is no way back for the visitors here, barring some sort of extraordinary drama next week in West London. You're struggling to think of scenarios where Chelsea could come apart. Probably have to have 2 or 3 men sent off for that to happen.
No, it would be one of the shocks of the season in not just European football. Yeah, absolutely, in football generally.
Ronnie Madueke raiding up the inside right, and he slips in Mahuka with a shot. That's well blocked by the on-rushing defender Radovan Pankov. 7 minutes to go, Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 3 in the Conference League, live on TalkSport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Making a big move or planning a clear out? Well, with vans of all shapes and sizes, if you've got a plan, they've got a van. A little bit of time, Scott Minto will do this post-match, but for you to think about your man of the match, and there's going to be a few contenders, no doubt, for Chelsea. But if Enzo Maresca had written a script beforehand, he couldn't really have asked for any more. Another flurry of goals in the Conference League for Chelsea. 32 in the competition proper. The prospect of Djurgardens or Rapid Vienna in the semi-final. I can't believe I'm already saying that, but Tyres is already as good as done. Goncalves nearly poking it through the middle. That was a decent ball, in fairness, aimed at Thomas Pekart. They've won it back again. Legia Warsaw midway inside the Chelsea half. And now the opportunity for the shot from long range, which takes a big deflection off Dewsbury Hall, and that takes absolutely all the sting out of it. It is the easiest possible gather for the goalkeeper.
I'll tell you one man who won't be getting a man of the match award, and it's not because he's done anything wrong, but just basically because he's had hardly anything to do. That's Jorgensen. You know, as I say,
he's not had a save of any kind today.
There's not been a shot on target, and I think that's full credit to the way that Chelsea have defended, not just their defenders, but also the whole team, and the way they've just had the ball and controlled the tempo of the game.
Well, hopefully the Chelsea 750 travelling fans will be able to enjoy the rest of their evening in Poland once the game is done. Terrific support from Chelsea. On the field, their team lead 3-0 and are nearly there. 5 minutes of normal time remaining, plus any added time. Legia Warsaw fans are still singing away, but the first ever meeting between the two clubs has comprehensively gone against them. I think that the live football that we've got coming up for you this evening is going to be a lot closer. Lyon Man United on TalkSport 2, Tottenham Frankfurt is on TalkSport 2, Lyon Man United on TalkSport. Both fascinating encounters. Chelsea coming forward down the left again with Jadon Sancho, who's been very lively in the second half. They've done Gidieri, just tucks it back to Cucurella with the long curly hair, and Legia have got players back behind the ball. Their stout defensive setup of the first half is a distant memory now. Chelsea have carved them apart really time and time again. Maybe could have even scored more than the 3. They've missed a penalty, albeit that penalty miss came just before the third goal was tucked away by Madueke. Just wonder what Cole Palmer will be thinking, Scott. A disappointing night for him.
Yeah, look, I don't think he...
Or am I overselling it? Am I being a bit harsh?
I don't think he was brilliant, but he held control of the game for sure. I think he'd be disappointed that within the 45 minutes he's not sort of scored or made an assist, but you know, it's more minutes on the pitch. When I saw the team sheet and Nicholas Jackson wasn't playing, again I sort of thought, well, that's not great news for Cole Palmer, because Nkunku's just not the same number 9 in the way that Nicholas Jackson is. But yeah, you know, not ideal. It's another appearance you can say where he hasn't got a goal involvement, but this is about being the team. You know, it's been a really good team performance here, very professional indeed. We talked about attitude and mentality, and would they be intimidated? But I think the scoreline and the stats tell you the answer to that.
3-0 3-0 to Chelsea with 3 minutes of normal time to go.
He'll also save an even better performance next time he's in Poland.
Well, that's got to be the hope for Chelsea. We went through it earlier, didn't we? Likely to be Real Betis or Fiorentina, you'd have thought, in the final. Should Chelsea get there, and almost feels like it's not in question that they will get there. Certainly got the more straightforward side of the draw when you look at who's been involved in the top half of the draw, and a few slightly more established names in European competition.
Well, look, and I don't want to come across as sort of, an arrogant Chelsea supporter in that sense, but if they don't get to the final, then serious questions will be asked.
Scott Pinto knows all about what it's like to play in big games at Stamford Bridge. Badiashile, left corner of the penalty area for Chelsea. Floats a high ball forward up to halfway, intercepted and cleared away by Pankov. It'll bounce down in the middle of the Chelsea half to the feet of Gonçalves. He's won a throw, very close to where his head coach Gonçalo Feo is standing. Said last night that Legia have got an opportunity to show the greatness of the club on an international scale. They haven't been able to do that on the field tonight. They've tried their best, certainly. They just can't compete with Chelsea, despite working hard. They have got an opportunity maybe for a cross into the penalty area. Buchakchian with the delivery. It's hacked away, the substitutes crossed by the Chelsea sub Levi Colwill. And now the ball is back on the halfway line with Capuani. Just over a minute of normal time remains. Forward by Pankov, hoists it up the middle. Colwill clears on the volley. Maybe a slight miscommunication between him and Jurgensen. Now they've worked it wide to the left-hand side, and the shot from the substitute, Szczepaniak, is charged down by Achampong. Chelsea determined to keep their clean sheet, even as we go into the final few seconds of normal time here. And Morishita is trying to lead the line for Legia Warsaw. That's a good ball in, headed away by Kukurea. Pankov didn't hit it. Turning in the penalty area is Patrick Kuhn, and that was a good save by Jurgensen. Well, finally he's forced into a stop. 40 seconds from the end of normal time, and he had to be alert to parry that away and keep Chelsea 3-0 up.
Good save, sign of a good keeper. You don't have much to do, but when you are asked to be called upon, you make a good save. And actually, he should have been given no chance. He should have been a shot crossing to the far post rather than at the near post, but good reactions from Jurgensen.
That's Legia's first effort on target, finally. Just 15 seconds of normal time to go, and it was well repelled by the goalkeeper. Just a little bit of a lack of concentration, maybe setting it for Chelsea. Maybe you can understand that. About to go into second half added time. Corner from the near side, drifted in by Buchakchian, and well claimed by Jurgensen into 3 minutes added. Chelsea still get their 3-0 lead, and he'll love that, won't he, the goalkeeper?
I was just about to say, he'd be really happy he's had a shot to save. Kuhn's had the strike. Look, it's good reactions, but it should be across him on the floor rather than high up towards the near post. It's giving him a chance, but there's no doubt about it. Jurgensen will be delighted he's had a shot to save, because it was a good save, but apart from that, it could have been me or you.
Well, I'm not sure about that. Certainly not me. Here is Dewsbury Hall, 25 yards out, nearly a minute through the 3 added. 3-0 Chelsea. TalkSport 2, stay with us. We're off to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium shortly. Now Chelsea have it with Dewsbury Hall again for the edge of the box, curling in and pushed away, a little unorthodox by the goalkeeper. Hit by Badiashile from even further out, and that's miles high over the crossbar. Made a few unconventional saves in this second half as Kasper Tobias. I mean, he did turn away Nkunku's penalty, so got to give him credit for that. Just not going to be Dewsbury Hall's night in front of goal.
Yeah, you really should have caught it.
It just seemed that, like, the ball was almost straight at him, but he ended up diving anyway.
I thought he should have caught it, for sure. And we see that quite a lot, don't we, with goalkeepers nowadays. And actually, there's no need to. It was almost straight to him. He's diving, so therefore he's punched it almost off balance.
Here comes Buchakchian, setting up Gonçalves with a low cross into the area for Legia Warsaw. They're probably finishing as well as they played in the whole of the game as they win another corner. Cleared away by Badiashile, and Chelsea with just over a minute to see out here and hold on to that 3-0 lead.
Well, I think the first 2 minutes of the game and the last 2 minutes of the game, they've been on the front foot.
What happened between all that? It has been all Chelsea. Pankov among those forward for the corner. I guess they're throwing everything at it now. They need something. Corner whipped in, and even that's probably not going to be enough. It's headed away by Chelsea. Drops to the back post and Augustinian. 50 seconds left. Slight couple of nervy moments for Chelsea right at the end of the game here. Work wide again to the right-hand side once more. Bichakchian delivers in left-footed, headed away by Badiashile, stooping through a crowd. Chelsea have got it done under the floodlights tonight. First visit to Poland as a European club. Chelsea looking to win it all in terms of their record in European UEFA club football, and they are poised to do so this season if they can lift the Conference League. Nobody would have done it better than Chelsea. The referee's had a look at his watch. Just 5 seconds to go. Forward by Kud. It's going to be too little too late for Legia Warsaw. The full-time whistle blows and Chelsea have virtually wrapped up the quarter-final tie after the first leg. A very satisfactory night for Enzo Maresca here in Warsaw. 3 second-half goals. Appeared to be no injuries for Chelsea, and so they are in the perfect frame of mind going into next Thursday's second leg. 1 foot in the semi-finals, pretty much 2 feet already, Chelsea. Tyreek George with his first senior goal. Memorable night for him with the opener. Noni Madueke added 2 off the bench. The second of those and the third goal for Chelsea coming just moments after Christopher Nkunku had missed a penalty. Dewsbury Hall had a couple of chances. They could have scored more on the night, Chelsea, but you feel as though already they've done more than enough to get the job done, even with the second leg still to come next week. Legia Warsaw 0, Chelsea 3. Scott Minto, comprehensive.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, if this is a 3-0 win at Stamford Bridge, you'd be saying, oh, they're strong favourites to go through, you know, despite going away from home. This is the 3-0 win away from home, and the second leg is at Stamford Bridge. I mean, it was just pretty much the perfect performance. Again, I'll go back to maybe Christopher Nkunku will be the only one who's disappointed, but you know, if he's thinking about the team, if anyone's thinking about the team, it's a clean sheet, 1 shot conceded on target, and that was in the 89th, 90th minute. 3 injuries, Hall could have had a hat-trick himself. You know, and there's no major injuries as well. Great night for Chelsea, great night for Enzo Maresca, and Noni Madueke coming off the bench getting 2 goals as well. He's absolutely delighted, and so he should be.
Well, it doesn't really seem as though there's any way back for Legia Warsaw, and that is significant for Chelsea in terms of fitting in those 3 games in less than a week. In a week's time, 2 of those in the Premier League, and of course they need to make sure they end up in the top 5.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, we talked about how I personally believe any English side in this competition, considering the power and the clout of the Premier League, should be winning this competition. West Ham did it 2 years ago. Aston Villa should have done it last year. Chelsea most definitely, with the money they spent and considering who they play against in the comparisons of salaries and transfer fees, they should be doing it. But you still have to go out there and do the job, Joe, and that's exactly what they did tonight. But yeah, it's all about winning this competition, but actually I think both are very important, but even more important is getting into that 5th place come the end of the season, a Champions League for Chelsea next season, and attract even better players for next season as well. So just the fact that they've done what they've done tonight takes the pressure off the second leg, and you can maybe start to rotate for that second leg ahead of the game at Craven Cottage.
And this time last week, Scott, you and I saw Cole Palmer set up a goal for Enzo Fernandez with a great cross against Tottenham in the Premier League, and taken off at half-time today. Just not quite happening for him at the moment. Why do you think that is?
No, and I think these things happen. You know, again, I've mentioned about how Nicholas Jackson in the last couple of months, him being out has been sorely missed, not just by the team as a whole, but by Cole Palmer as well. Their relationship is there for all to see. But I also think that, yeah, you know, he got on the ball and he tried to make things happen, but sometimes it just doesn't. Sometimes you go through peaks and troughs of a season. When you think about how good he was last season and how good he's been in the first part of this season, again, I go back to the fact if he carried on like that, we'd be talking about world class, and he's not quite world class yet. Look, the important thing is, can he now, going forward with Nicholas Jackson fit as well, take Chelsea to a top 5 place? It's still going to be very difficult with the way you look at Manchester City, despite them being inconsistent. Newcastle, the way they're playing. Aston Villa, in the league.
Especially here at Amen and the corner, that hardest hole, number 11. Many bailouts. I think we've only seen 2 or 3 balls on the green. Looking down now around 11, just look to the right of the green. Never look on the green first. And there's 1, 2, 3 right of the green again. So yes, get through Amen corner. And what do you say when you finish the 13th tee shot? Amen.
Although Wacky Neiman, Trish Johnson alongside me, made a real mess of 13, didn't he?
Well, you're going to tell me that. Hang on a second. I've just,
Wacky Neiman was when we saw him in Rays Creek. Do you remember the second shot dropped into Rays Creek?
That was at least 10 minutes ago, and obviously my memory not being what it was when I was 58. Once you get to 59, that's it, done and dusted. Well, funny enough, he hit it in Rays Creek, and his first shot was fairly straightforward. It was on the grass, or on the bit of mud. He tried to get too cute with it, played it too softly, got up the bank, and then came it all the way back down. Then he was in the water, and we thought, here we go, this could be quite entertaining. But of course, as it always happens, he just gave it a little bit more. He played a superb shot, actually. Knocked it to about 10 foot behind the flag. But we've seen some very good shots in, but with that front pin today, I think it's maybe slightly downwind. There's a lot of iron shots in there, Scotty Scheffler being one, 3-putted. It is like grease lightning down that slope. So it's certainly no gimme, birdie, even if you hit the green in 2.
Coming through 17, or having just gone through 17, Patrick Reed was one of those. He's gone through 17. He is 1 under, a former champion. Morikawa, Neiman and Minwoo Lee, all 1 under and all about to play 17. We'll go to James Gregg shortly, but let's go back to Kat watching Scheffler.
Yep, third shot for Scotty Scheffler, defending champion on this par 5 15th. His ball skidding from this massive shot right at the top of the hill away to my right, through the back of the green by about 20 odd yards. And now he's got this devilish chip up onto the surface of the putting green. Now it needs to bite as it works down that really steep slope towards the flag. And it's put the brakes on, but it's come up short, just over 20 feet or so from the flag. He'll have that for a birdie here on the par 5, but he was hoping to put that a little bit closer. Such a difficult chip, up and over the crest of the green, and then to roll down and try and stop it from rolling in the water. Saw Billy Horschel plop in there from behind the green a little bit earlier on. So Scotty Scheffler's done a pretty good job of that, but he'll be hoping that he can drain that 25-footer for birdie and to move into a share of the lead.
Kat, was that not maybe slightly disappointing? Because looking at the flag, he's playing that on an upslope and he's playing it back into the wind. So he knows it's going to pull up fairly quickly. I know the water is only about 20 foot the other side of the flag, but maybe a little disappointing, that shot?
Yeah, I would say so. He wanted that to release a little bit more, but Trish, if he gets too close, too cute with that flag, the slope from the flag down towards the water is just so steep, and there's no stopping the ball there. It will disappear under that molten chocolate surface. And so I think, just playing the percentages, Scotty Scheffler, he doesn't need to push, does he? He's at 3 under, 1 shot off the lead, a par here and then on to the 16th, and I think he'll be fairly chuffed.
Good point.
Ali, you were going
Rory McIlroy on the par 3-6, so 1 under par for his round today. The birdie came at the third, parred the fourth, and clearly parred the fifth. Actually, was in a spot of bother on the fifth. He had a wonderful drive, difficult par for that, wonderful drive into the middle of the fairway. The approach shot rolled off the front of the green, and he left himself a bit of work to do, having putted onto the green, but made the par putt. And the sixth, I mean, it's almost a fantasy golf hole, this par 3-6. You hit over another one of these huge valleys. The slope at the front of this green is so steep. The pin today is parked sort of back left, 26 yards on and 10 in from the left-hand side. And you heard McIlroy there on our microphones a couple of minutes ago, just telling his ball to go. And it did get up to that top shelf, Trish. And I think he's left himself about 20 feet, maybe 25 feet or so for birdie. He looks to me, I know we're only watching this on the monitors, he's going to be in front of our guys later on in our coverage this evening. He seems to be swinging it well.
Yeah, he looks in great nick, I think. He really does. I think he looks very confident. Just making that birdie at 3 was big, getting up and down. I think his short game is very much underestimated. I think he is an absolute genius, just chipping from off the green, which we'll need this week. It's just whether or not the putter is going to be there or thereabouts.
New leader, Justin Rose, has gone to 5 under par. He's played the front 9 in 5 under par, and I saw the putt from short range moments ago. I mean, he knocked that into very close, his second on the 9th. So Justin Rose, who's been runner-up twice here at the Masters.
I was going to say, he's been close but no cigar on a few occasions.
Yeah, well, 2017 is the one you think of particularly, the playoff with Sergio Garcia. I think the other runner-up finish was 2015 when Jordan Spieth won it by quite a distance. I remember back in 2007 when Zach Johnson won, Justin Rose was in the contention that year in one of his earlier starts in the Masters. Now 44 years old, 20 starts at the Masters, and he leads by 1. He's played the front 9 in 5 under. Cat.
Scotty Scheffler with this birdie putt, sliding down this dangerous slope. Looks really good, but just going to tiptoe by on the right-hand side, and the crowd let out an almighty ooh there. Well behind the defending champion. Just a little tap in. It'll be for Scheffler for a par here on the 15th. He'll stay at 3 under par. 2 shots off the lead now of Justin Rose. How about that?
I know. Justin Rose 5 under, Connors and Hatton 4 under, Scheffler 3 under, and Aaron Rai, another Englishman, on 2 under, and he is in the clubhouse. He is done for the day. Harris English alongside him, the American, 2 under, and in the clubhouse, Jason Day, the Australian, out on the course and through 16. He's played, he's 2 under. Denny McCarthy's 2 under as well. There are a lot of players, James Gregg, who must be in or near you on 17.
There are indeed, Mark. Yeah, I've just got eyes through my binoculars, actually, on Colin Morikawa, who stood on the 13th tee at 3 under par, but now finds himself at 1 under. He's had back-to-back drop shots at both the par 5 15th and then the par 3 16th. That's what the big leaderboard to my right-hand side tells me. Anyway, look, Morikawa is somebody that is much fancied here at Augusta, isn't he? Having finished inside the top 10 in each of the past 3 years, a 2-time major winner, but without that win, crucially, on the regular tour, either on the PGA Tour or indeed elsewhere, for the best part of a couple of years. His last win was at the Zozo Championship in Japan a couple of years back. So, look, lots of eyes on him. Can he get the business done? We'll have to wait and see. But, yeah, disappointing kind of finish to his round. So he'll be looking to try and fire one into this back left hole location shortly here at number 17. Had a nice moment, actually, here. Just as I'd arrived, it was Freddie Couples playing in his 40th Masters. You might remember he became the oldest player to make the cut here when he was 63 a couple of years back. And he rolled a nice, good clutch par save in here, and he's rounding 1 under par. 65 years of age, so he's going to break his own record if he is indeed here on Saturday. But it's, look, my first time here, and I've got to say this vista is, yeah, pinch yourself stuff.
Good stuff. James Gregg with us this year at the Masters. So Justin Rose is the leader, 5 under, Connors and Hatton 4 under, Scheffler on 3 under, and Bryson DeChambeau has just joined the group on 2 under, and he has only played 4 holes. The golf is going to continue uninterrupted on Sports Extra from 8 o'clock. We'll keep you up to date with it here on 5 Live throughout the